Nigeria, there are still many there. There are many. I believe that those people, they said they are deep.
When you begin to hide yourself
of the business I'm doing, how to keep business, like customer business, receipts.
Hello there and welcome to Talking Migration on TV 360. I am Oyin Adekunle. We kick off the program today now with news of another batch of 160 Nigerian migrants who have just been recently repatriated from Libya. This comes just a week after a batch of 155 Nigerians were returned. This new group comprised of 153 males and 7 females. There are also a few medical cases. They were received at the cargo wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport by officials of the UN Agency for Migration, IOM, and the National Emergency Management Agency, that's NEMA. Now to reports from the IOM, which says that about 1,413 migrants have died, with about 30 others missing in the Mediterranean Sea this year alone in attempts to cross into Europe. The highest figure was recorded in June, with 629 migrants losing their lives, raising fears and tension of humanitarian aid agencies, considering the fact that it was a sharp increase from the total of 48 deaths which were seen in the previous month of May. Coming at the heels of June is January, with a total of 243 deaths. However, the month of March witnessed another decrease from the 196 deaths in February to 67 and 109 in April. As of July 12 this year, the agency reports that a total of 121 migrants have been reported dead on the same route. IOM has lamented the deaths, referring to them as too many. Similarly, authorities in Libya say 8 migrants, including 6 children, were found dead on Monday after suffocating from petrol fumes, which packed into a lorry container on the west coast. In a statement, the security directorate in the town of Zuwara said another 90 migrants recovered from the container were in critical condition and had been taken to a local hospital for treatment. The migrants were from various sub-Saharan African and Arab countries, as well as Pakistan and Bangladesh. Zuwara is one of the points along Libya's western coastline, where smugglers and traffickers hold migrants before putting them on boats to cross them to Europe. Meanwhile, Italy's Interior Minister Matteo Salvini has accused some migrants of hijacking the ship that rescued them off the Libyan coast. 2 of the passengers, that's one Ghanaian and one Sudanese, allegedly forced the ship to reroute from the approaching Libyan Coast Guard in order to avoid being returned to Libya. The 67 passengers aboard the Diciotti ship were eventually handed over to the Italian Coast Guard. The final decision on the fate of the alleged hijackers rests with the local prosecutor in Trapani, that's in Sicily. Now, shortly after that, Italy agreed to let another 450 migrants who were picked from an overcrowded boat to disembark in Sicily. This decision was taken after Italy said that France, Germany, Malta, Portugal, and Spain had agreed to its appeal to take 50 migrants each. Malta and Italy had earlier each insisted that the other country should allow the boat to dock. Italy's new government had toughened its policies in an attempt to stem the flow of arrivals on its shores. So far, only women and children, 57 in all, have been allowed to land in the Sicilian port of Pozzallo. Once again, many thanks for joining me on the program today. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, I shall be discussing with my guest who's already with me in the studio. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the program. I am now being joined in the studio by Emmanuel Etim, who is the CEO of AfriZoneMart.com, and is also a presidential aspirant. Thank you so much for joining me, Emmanuel.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, I would like us to begin with this counter steps now. That's what I'll call it, for want of a better word, that African Union took as against what, after the EU summit, wanting to create disembarkation centers in Africa. Now, African Union leaders are now saying that they would create a migration body to regulate migration policies in Africa. How feasible do you think that this body would be for us in Africa?
Well, I think the first is called the African Observatory for Migration, and it's not a regulation body per se. It's a policy harmonization agency, and the idea is to help observe the trends, the policy trends, provide technical guidance to countries, assist countries in improving their, internal, migration policies in order to promote human development, to promote trade, with a focus first on Africa. How do we allow Africans move around Africa in a way that promotes, skills transfer, education transfer, intra-African trade, and as a result, limit the, the challenges with regards to how those borders are porous and Africans want to travel through them. Because the AU's role, first of all, the AU's primary mandate is not to regulate. It doesn't have the authority to regulate. Its main body is to help harmonize, guide countries in what to do, and then report to the Conference of Heads of State on progress countries are making individually and together as a union.
So do you think that this body now, it might have consequences, creating this body, or would it have a toll on Africa?
Well, the word is not a toll. It's not going to have a toll, as it were, but it'll have an impact eventually. Because one thing is to have the agencies. The other thing is for the agency to have the resources to get the job done. Yeah? And the more of that resources that are coming from African countries means the more capacity the agency will have to respond to the core challenges that Africa needs to respond to. If more of the money is coming from external partners, it means that it will be looked at from a more external point of view. In other words, how does the donor see the issue and how they want to respond to the issue. Seldom will they be able to do everything and the way they want to do it. So the agency is one, the impact is possible, but then the resources to get that work done is important.
All right, so now I'll take it from this angle. Just some weeks back, Emmanuel Macron was in Nigeria, and he did say that for us to stop, one of the ways to stop irregular migration is to allow Europe help Africa to create jobs for our people. That's why I'm asking that what would the impact be, saying that Europe is like what we are looking up to help us with these resources that you're talking about.
Well, if I was talking to Emmanuel Macron, I would have asked him, if you mean what you mean, then you're talking about technology transfer. Because Europe helping Africa to create jobs is not formalizing, easier ways for Africans to travel to Europe and help replace their diminishing workforce. It will mean technology transfer, which they don't want to listen to, by the way. Giving us the technology allows us to invest in our, resources and produce global standard products that can compete anywhere in the world. That is the issue. That's the conversation, yeah? So does he mean Europe is willing to give, technology and share technology with Africa and intelligence for that purpose? That's the question to ask. It's not as sexy as he's making it sound.
All right, now to Africa. Do you think that our leaders are really doing enough? Because it almost seems like independent, trying to seek independent solution. This country is doing its own on its part. This country is doing its own. There doesn't seem to be a synergy or joint, let me say, partnership now. Why do you think this is happening?
Well, first, the question of whether our leaders are doing enough. Our leaders are not doing enough because they're not our leaders. Yeah, they are monarchs in democratic spaces. They are rulers in democratic spaces. For you to say someone is your leader, it means the person has a vision. They have the vision that we all are united towards, and they are helping us get to that destination. And they are making sacrifices for us on our behalf, or helping us make those sacrifices. That's what a leader is. And they're living lives and, have a track record of transformatory decision making. So I would first don't say I recognize that they're leaders in the first place. I would say that whoever these monarchs and rulers are occupying democratic spaces are in the wrong places. We need to get them out and replace them with people who are going to be real leaders.
But we do know that there have been efforts on the part of government.
When you call effort, what are those? There are things that are traditional to do already. There are things that are statutory to do, and there are things that are transformatory to do. You don't tell me that waking up in the morning and going to work that you're being paid for to be there is an effort. It's a responsibility. Yeah? When you say you're putting an effort is when you're going outside of your normative responsibility to put in the extra mile. Then it's an effort. Otherwise, you're being paid to get the job done, and you're not even doing up to 20% of the work.
But we find that even with the campaigns and everything, government, say Nigeria now, government going out to say this is not the right way to go out of the country, say Europe.
What is the right way?
People are still going. People are still embarking on the journey. Look at the Libya route now.
Right. What is the right way to go?
People do not have correct papers.
Okay, let me ask you this question. All these people you claim to be leaders, all their children, all their wards, family members live abroad. What is the right way to go? When, as a Nigerian, you carry your passport, you walk into a foreign country, the first look they give to you is, why are you even here? What is the right way to go?
So are you trying to justify now
No, I'm saying people have no alternative. I have okay, I'm one of a few who probably has visas to go everywhere in the world I want to go to. And sometimes I meet people who tell me, why are you going back home? What is back in Nigeria for you to go and experience? Or what are you doing back home? So if I had the choice, I had probably a reason to stay back, I would have had many opportunities to stay back, isn't it? I've been offered jobs abroad and I turned them down. So that is a personal decision. But you cannot take away the power from somebody else who finds an alternative for the basic life experience, basic amenities of life. These people are not running away to become, live luxurious life, by the way. They're not running away to go and, live like kings. And no, they are running away to have a home where they don't have to worry about electricity or gas, or they don't have to be rich to buy a car, or to have, do you understand, to get a job that helps them live.
But in this case, the alternative is dangerous.
Well, what you call dangerous is risk-taking. We take risk in life, we take risk in business.
So for migrants dying
let me give you an example. In Nigeria, a woman getting pregnant is as risky, even more risky, than those people crossing the bridge, because the probability she's going to die is very significant. So what is risky? That you get out of school and you don't have a job is as risky or more risky than those, because you probably will die from poverty or hunger. I mean, what is risk? Risk is taking chances. And they always tell us, without taking risks, you can't make it, isn't it? So that's the risk they choose to take.
But of course, there are consequences of this migration on the countries that they are going, because they are unaccounted for.
Well, who said they are unaccounted for?
So people walk through borders, and then the government don't even know that these people have arrived. The population keep increasing. Do you not think that it has a consequence on the countries that they're going?
First of all, those countries know they are coming, number one. Number two, it's intentional that they're choosing those routes, because they understand the psychology. See, an African realizes that he sees on television behind his TV, and he sees that once you cross through Libya, enter Tunisia, get to the water side, Spain will pick you up, and according to their tradition and culture, they can't send you back. You become, give asylum, or you're alone looking for asylum, and they're going to take care of you, do certain things for you, and I believe, and I assume some of those things are that way. Which different way we treat our people, you see? So it's an intentional effort to take advantage of a system that they hope will benefit them. So those people are not taking risk out of ignorance. They know what they're trying to do. They know once we cross that border, enter the other side of Europe, the treatment is different.
But there's been cases where these migrants have been left unattended to on the sea.
Well, that is what is happening now, because these guys are trying to harden up. But it's not their way of doing things.
So it's okay for people to go outside of their countries?
No, you're putting words in my mouth now. I didn't say it is okay to go take that kind of risk. What I'm saying is, what choice have you left that man or that woman who is taking that decision? We can't just tell them don't go. It's like telling somebody, oh, you're hungry, don't worry, you eat. And there's no food. The first day, the second, the third day. And you say, don't worry, you'll be fine. What does that mean? Do you understand? Is it practical? It ain't practical. So we can't just talk the issue. We have to do concrete things that make it change.
Now, what are some of these concrete things?
Number one, we have to create jobs. We have to create jobs by creating a society, an economy, that people can do business and profit from what they are doing. We are afraid to talk profitability in this country, on this continent. Profitability is the basis of enjoyment of life. If you don't profit, how do you enjoy life? Which means deduct all your expense and have disposable income. We need to create systems that allow people to be profitable. The individual has the right to make a gain, to be profitable and to prosper. That's the essence of all of this, isn't it? So if we don't create systems that ensure profitability, and we enjoy that people must suffer, stand on long queues to get anything done, people must bribe, people don't have equal opportunities to compete for resources that they may be entitled to, excuse me, what options are you leaving the person?
So have you preferred some of the solutions to the
I don't just prefer, I take them.
So how many of them have you taken?
Because I've taken a lot.
Looking at the society
I can
now,
tell you, for example, that before now, I was at the center of ensuring that we created jobs for young people across Africa. And I created something called the African Union Volunteer Corps. yeah, which was a policy recommendation, and I ensured got implemented with the resources to do it. And as I speak to you today, there are lots of young people across Africa who are working in regional jobs, earning thousands of dollars, that would never have had that opportunity. Hundreds of them. Never had opportunity. History shows that it was never there before. So that's happening now. I did that. And I did that at the time where nobody thought it was possible. And nobody thought that young people could function at those levels of responsibilities. So it's been done before. I've done it. Even right here in Nigeria, I've created businesses and created opportunities where Nigerians have gone to do stuff, not just locally, internationally. It can be done. I've had people who came to me and saying, I want to leave the country. And I said, no, there are opportunities. Look this way, look that way. And they stayed back and they've been better off than those who left. So it's not difficult. The solutions are there. We know what to do. But we have to be committed to make sure it gets done.
All right, now on another angle, now let's look at the issue of visa lotteries. That seems to be the new way European countries lure Nigerians out of the country.
I like your choice of word, lure, eh?
So what can be done? Would that be a good thing to do? People are in search of golden fleece. So it's okay when somebody comes to me and says, come to my country to work and leave yours.
So let me ask you a question. So first, let's connect it with the migration issue. So you give out 200 visas, right? 200 people apply for visas, but you only have space to give 50 visas. So you've turned down 150. If those 150 are desperate, they're going to choose to go. So what is visa lottery then? Why don't you just give the 150, the 200 at once? Why are you giving visa lottery? What's the purpose? Why? Because you're looking for something. You're looking for those who you think have what it takes to make your economy prosper at the expense of their domestic country. Hello? So I've never applied for visa lottery. People have gotten it, they've left the country to go and live abroad on the basis of visa lottery. Congratulations to them. But I don't think that visa lottery is the solution. In fact, we should do visa lottery too. We need migrants in Nigeria, you know that?
Of course we do.
Oh yeah. We need to do visa lottery. Give some of these countries, even in Europe, give some of those countries to come. I don't want to mention countries, but there are many countries in Europe that would want to come to Africa and Nigeria to work.
Now, let's say now that the first time we met, you said something about leaders they're not too smart about the issue of migration. Why do you say that?
Well, I'm saying that because there is another side to it. You know, let me give you an example. Foreign direct investment is usually one of the narrative they put forward in exchange for a policy system that allows Africans to make it easy for their best and most skilled to want to travel or to encourage brain drain. But the other side of it is FDI sometimes, according to United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, contributes about $50 billion to the economy. Africa is the least funded, I think the second to the last least funded aid recipient by official development assistance from developed nations. However, the amount of money that goes out of Africa's illicit financial flows is around $50+ billion. At least the known ones. And there's many more that is not known. Which is much more than the total aid Africa gets from ODA. So what am I trying to say to you? I'm trying to say is that the language of migration that works for the West, the aging West, a depleting human capital West, it doesn't work for us. We need to begin to trade our human capital as resources. We mustn't send them out. We can outsource those services. You understand, like what India has done. We can outsource those skills and services. And so, okay, you want all these skills? Okay, we don't need to take them. Pay them from where let them work from here. Pay them from where they are, from where you are. That we can do. So we keep the money here. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. We need to go into those meetings, and I've been in such of those meetings before. In fact, there were on several occasions that we walked out. The African delegation, we work so we can't have this conversation. So we need to go into those meetings now with the capacity to negotiate what benefits Africa better. You know, sometimes going there and saying, okay, this is the deal breaker. We either have it this or we don't have it at all. And then we come to a compromise. But we cannot continue to negotiate with the international community when it comes to Africa's future from a point of, if we don't do, they don't give us aid. Then we don't know what we got.
But why does it seem like European countries have their eye on Africa?
Your people, they're intelligent. Your people have capacity to work and work long hours. They have resilience. They are creative. They are innovative, right? They are adaptive. I mean, do you know what all of that contributes to a society? And with what is happening in Europe is aging. The population of young people, they are very few. They need future workforce, not just in terms of, the technology, the science and co, but middle-level staff. They need a lot of that to replace in their industries and so on. So they need Africa to do that. cheap labor, but also a market, a future market for their products. And that's why they don't talk technology transfer. Because technology transfer means you can produce and compete with them. And the moment you can produce and compete with them, that's it. They are out, they are poor. So they are coming with 50 years in mind. You are going there with tomorrow in mind, 4 years of political office in mind. You see where the difference is? That's why they are smarter.
Earlier while you were talking, you talked about brain drain.
Yes.
And that's the exact word, those are the exact words that Barack Obama used while he was trying to urge African youths to remain in their country so that we can try to stem brain drain that is happening. Do you agree with him?
No.
Why? Why don't you?
See, while I challenge the concept of migration from a Western perspective, I also realize the reality of it. Yeah? And the benefit it brings to the immediate families of those who get to move, for those who succeed in that move. Brain drain is a result of an individual seeking better resources to advance their lives. For example, I have a lot of friends who are medical doctors who can't wait to leave the country because the working conditions are disastrous. The return on investment is terrible. You spend 10 years in medical school plus post-training and eventually maybe 12, 13 years, and you can't even buy yourself a good car. And your colleague who went to 4 years of marketing or commerce, whatever it is, after 10 years have built themselves a house sometimes, advanced, created a big business. So it's an issue. That is where the brain drain, why the brain drain is happening, because people want better lives. Listen, you get $100, right? You come into Nigeria, that's 36,000 naira. What can it do for you? A lot. Isn't it? It can pay some bills, get you some stuff. This is what people are going for. So brain drain is not going to stop happening, and it doesn't stop because Obama says don't leave your continent. It's not going to stop from happening. As long as the opportunity is there, people are going to take it. What we need to create is a society, an environment where the individual can prosper, succeed at any enterprise, and make Nigeria a place where people want to come and do business and make money. Until we do that, do you talk brain drain in Dubai? Do we talk brain drain in Singapore? Do we talk brain drain in some of the rich countries of the UAE? Why is that not a conversation there? They don't travel, stay in your countries. The Americans are telling them, come to our country. Come and spend your money. So that's the thing. We will only talk brain drain when we have the issue of poor economic policy and implementation, poor leadership, poor, in fact, this is the most important one, wickedness in high places, where you don't think your other brother has a right to succeed. I want to get a passport so I can travel, and I have to stay for 1 month to get it, and stand on long queues. Why? Please, why? Why can't I just walk in there and it's printed for me? I am renewing a passport and I have to do it in 3 days. Why? Why can't they just do everything and just come and pick it up? Do you understand? Those little systemic things. You go to the airport, you want to travel, you have to go through so much stress to get anything done in Africa. And I mean, I've been to 70% of African countries. It's the same. We enjoy seeing our people suffer, seeing them struggle to get anything done. That is the justification. It's traditional. We enjoy saying, hey, he worked for the money. He don't suffer. He don't deserve it. Why? Why can't it be easier? You see a 25, 30-year-old who has done some business and successful, like Natif, 419. Why? Because it looked easier to get? Why must I be 50 years before I can own a house? Why? Or why must I be a retiree before I can buy a good car? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Those stereotypes about what success requires or what it takes to succeed. We have to change it. It's a structural challenge that has become part of, it's worse than corruption.
So these are some of the challenges that
Yes.
people face that make them travel.
Yes.
So would those opportunities that they seek include taking up menial jobs that they cannot even do in their own countries?
Okay, what is the menial job? Let me tell you what the menial job is. You're a student, right? You're abroad. You're a receptionist, you're cleaning, washing dishes and so on. You get enough money to pay your fees sometimes and go through school. You get enough money sometimes to even pay for a car or get a mortgage. What we are calling menial jobs are not menial jobs, as it were. Do you understand me?
But some of
It's
these people would swear never to do it in their own country.
Yeah, because you're not paying them. Pay the person and say they don't do the job. Pay and say they don't do the job. Get a driver and pay the driver 150 and see if he will not do the job. Wear tie and do the job. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Most of these guys will go become taxi drivers. From that taxi driving work, they are paying, building a house back home. They are taking care of their families abroad. Listen, it's in a society, everybody cannot be a billionaire per se. But everybody can have the chance to live the life they want to live. So whenever you plug yourself into the system, you should be able to succeed. That's what I'm talking about. Success doesn't mean everybody succeeds at the same level. But whenever you plug yourself in, you should be satisfied. Isn't it? That's what they're going there for.
But some of the people who embark on this journey some of them don't have the opportunity to come back to tell these good tales.
Well, there are many reasons why. One is greed. Okay, one of it is greed. So they live here, they get there, they can't believe how easy it is. Then they lose their way. They forget where they're coming from, and it's very easy to do so.
And that's for those who make it there. Some don't.
Why don't they?
Some die on the Mediterranean Sea. Some that's for those who travel illegally now.
My sister, how many businesses start and fail? How many people today are the other day I was reading a report, a young man in Ikorekpane committed suicide because of frustration and depression. How many people today are in mental homes because they're tired, they couldn't deal with it? How many? How many people today have turned themselves into robbery? I mean, what I'm trying to say is that while we're trying to look at the other side of it, somebody's saying, you know, forward I go. If I die, I die. That's the art of warfare, isn't it? If I die, forward I go. I shall not come back to the same thing I left behind. It's a human instinct to make it, to survive. When a lion charges against an elephant or against a bull, it do that at a risk that it may die from doing it. But that's why we call it the king of the jungle, right? Courage. What is courage then? The courage is to thrive. So, yeah, I cannot swim. So, go and learn how to swim. Carry life jacket if you can. And you will survive. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to look at it from a point where we stop blaming these people for trying to make it happen. If they had alternatives, they wouldn't have chosen it. I'm not saying that's in 100% of the case. I'm saying, but a significant proportion of those cases is the reason.
Now, looking at lasting solution, now you are a presidential aspirant. What
Yes.
are you looking, what direction are you looking to create a lasting solution to all of this?
I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to make sure that if you're an individual in Nigeria, you start a business, you will succeed. There is profit in every work and labor. You must be able to succeed. And public service, the civil service, government institutions, their job is to help you and ensure you succeed. Failure of success should be a fault of good governance. We must be able to start looking at that and say, we do this and ensure that the Nigerian is succeeding across all strata of government. That's what it takes, and that's what requires to be done. So the Nigerian wakes up in the morning and knows that when I walk into CAC, their job is to help me succeed. When I walk into the airport, their job is to get me to that meeting on time. Yeah, so I succeed. When I walk into a service center, the job is to help me succeed. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? The system must be able to contribute to help you succeed. And putting that system in place is not the problem. We have them. It's making it work and work for the Nigerian. That's what I offer.
We do have some of the regular migrants who have been brought back into the country. And many of them, some of them want to return. So what are your plans for some of these people?
You know what? Let them talk to me. And you'll be shocked. I'm sure they can hear me talk now. If they decide to vote for me, they'll have a different story to tell. You know, we can actually have expatriate migration. When a Nigerian is going there as an expert, paid very well to come and do a job. We have expatriates here, isn't it? So migration in itself is not the issue. It's why are you going? How are you going? And what are the benefits of going? I have been an expert in a foreign country, right? Working, well, in Africa, but working for the AU and for the UN. I could have been seen as a migrant, right? If I choose to reside in the country after my job. So the point here is not being there. You could be there as a consultant, you could be there as an advisor to that government, you could be there as a resource person to a company. Migration can help and work for us. But when that migration is as a result of anger, pain, poverty, this is what we are calling it, and that's what we have in this issue. That person wants to go there because he or she knows the one thing he will not worry about is with $100, he can pay his gas, depending on where he lives or how he lives. He can pay for his gas, he can pay for his energy, he can pay for basic things to move around. He can feed himself in a way. You understand what I'm trying to say? That's why they are going there. See, for every amount of money you have, if you work, you will survive abroad. Do you know that? People who you see on the street are those either because of drugs, they're not making it, because they are, they've made wrong decisions out of life, or because they're lazy. And you hardly find an immigrant in that situation. Hardly. You understand? And let's not confuse migration with, advanced free flow. Those are two different things.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And did I say congratulations yet? No.
Good yes, you should say that. Yeah, you are hearing it rightly.
We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, there's more on the program. Please stay with us.